Deion Sanders took the Colorado Buffalo from worst to first in only 2 seasons, and it feels like everything that Deion's promised up to this point is going to come true. We're only halfway through November, and the Buffalo already sit near the top of their conference with a chance at not only playing in the Big 12 title game, but competing for a national championship. And with 3 games remaining in the regular season for Colorado, the only team that can stop them are themselves, because their remaining opponents have a combined record of 3-16 in conference. So as long as Colorado wins out, they will most likely be playing BYU for the Big 12 championship. And if they are able to win the Big 12 championship, that automatically gives them a top 4 seed in the college football playoffs. And if they're able to make a run in the college football playoffs, Deion Sanders will soar past everybody's expectations. And you might be wondering how a program like Colorado was able to go from only 1 win in 2022 to the top of the Big 12 conference in 2024. Well, Deion Sanders wasn't the only person to come over from Jackson State. He brought a few of his guys with him, most notably his son Shadeur Sanders, who's been playing quarterback for the Buffalo since Deion got there. And this season, Shadeur Sanders is having a career year. He's currently in the Heisman race, and I would rank him in the top 5 because that's how good Shadeur's been. If we take a look at a few of his stats, right now completion percentage is sitting at 72.9%. Top 3 in all of FBS football right now, along with 250 completions and 2,882 passing yards. And the pretty numbers don't end there because he also has 24 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. Shadeur Sanders is taking over the college football world, and he doesn't seem to be getting the recognition he deserves because people downplay his achievements due to the fact that he is Deion Sanders' son. But Shadeur Sanders, while the opponents may not be as good as those in the Big 10 or the SEC, has been great all year. And if you don't believe me, well, we can take a look at some of Shadeur Sanders' best games this season. First up, we got that Week 1 matchup against North Dakota State. And in this game, well, Shadeur Sanders only had 26 completions, but with those 26 passes completed, he was able to throw for 445 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And those numbers were enough for Colorado to beat North Dakota State 31-26. And this was a statement game, not only for Shadeur, but for the rest of the team, to let the college football world know that the Colorado Buffalo were the real deal. And the next game I want to jump to is one against Baylor, a tough Big 12 opponent, but one I felt like Colorado had the edge over, and this was a slugfest. Now, it wasn't memorable because of the numbers that Shadeur put up. Shadeur only had 341 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, which is kind of on the lower end for a Shadeur game, but still, the reason this game is so memorable is because it felt like Colorado was going to lose this game. They were down a touchdown with 2 minutes remaining, and what does Shadeur do? Gets the team into Hail Mary range, and then on the last play of the game, throws a 43-yard bomb to the LeJontay Wester for a game-tying touchdown. And then the game goes into overtime, and Colorado wins the game in OT. This was an iconic game for Shadeur that only added to his legacy. And last but not least, let's get to a recent game against Texas Tech. Now, this game against Texas Tech, it felt like the winner of Texas Tech versus the Colorado Buffalo was going to soar to the top of the Big 12 just because of how things had shaken up. And Texas Tech got off to an early 13-0 lead. By the end of the first, it felt like, okay, well, Colorado's offense just isn't working. But that wasn't enough to keep Shadeur Sanders down, because in the second quarter, he threw for a touchdown, a 23-yard pass to Wester, and then by the time the third quarter rolled around, it was all Buffalo. They ended up having 3 touchdowns in the third quarter alone. One was a Shadeur Sanders rush for 7 yards, and the others were passes to not only Will Shepherd, but Travis Hunter to give Colorado a bigger lead. And once they had that lead, it was kind of game over. They ended up winning 41-27. Those are some of Shadeur Sanders' best games this season. And if you're still a Shadeur Sanders doubter, well, we can compare this season's numbers to those of last year. You see, in his first year with the Colorado Buffalo, Shadeur Sanders went out and had 298 completions, 3,230 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, all on a 69.3 completion percentage. All of those numbers, Shadeur Sanders is projected to break this season because he is having a career year. There's a reason he's in the Heisman conversation, because he deserves it. But he isn't the only Colorado Buffalo in the Heisman race. In fact, his teammate is projected to be the favorite to win the Heisman, and we'll get to that in a second. But for right now, I just wanted to remind you guys to slow down, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Every subscription is greatly appreciated, and we're on the road to 5,000, so please subscribe. All right, now let's get back to talking about Colorado. You see, the teammate I'm referring to is Travis Hunter, who's not only their best wide receiver, but he's also Colorado's top defensive player, which is basically unheard of at the collegiate level. In fact, a major reason as to why Travis Hunter decided to play for Colorado is because Deion Sanders was one of the few head coaches who would allow him to do both. And if anybody understands where Travis Hunter is coming from, it's Deion Sanders. Because not only did Deion Sanders play in the NFL, but he played in the MLB at the exact same time. So of course, Deion Sanders understands Travis Hunter's need to play on both sides of the ball. And Travis Hunter's wide receiving stats, well, they speak for themselves, because he ranks not only top 10 in receptions, but also receiving touchdowns in all of FBS, and 11th in receiving yards. Right now, he currently sits at 69 receptions on 856 yards and 9 touchdowns. He averages 12.5 yards of reception. That's how good Travis Hunter is. Statistically, he's top 10, but with the eye test, you know Travis Hunter is a top 3 receiver in all of FBS. And that's not even his best position. He's arguably a better cornerback than he is a wide receiver, which is hard to believe. But over the last 2 years of playing in Colorado, Travis Hunter has had 36 solo tackles, 15 assisted tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 5 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. Those are the kind of numbers that Travis Hunter is putting up on the defensive side, which is why he's the favorite to win the Heisman. Not only because he's a top 5 wide receiver, but he's also a top 5 cornerback. And when you put 2 and 2 together, nobody deserves the Heisman more. Okay, maybe Ashton Jeanty deserves the Heisman a little more than Travis Hunter, but with the way that the media is spinning this thing, if Colorado continues to win games and win the Big 12 title game, along with making a deep run in the college football playoffs, well, Travis Hunter is just going to have to win the Heisman at that point. There's no other case to be argued. And thanks to those 2 players, along with Deion Sanders, well, Colorado football is on the verge of making history. And I think I've covered everything I wanted to about Colorado. The only reason I'm making this video now is because there is a small chance they may drop a game to a Utah or a Kansas like Iowa State did. And if so, well, then their season is really up in jeopardy. But I don't think there's any real chance of that happening. So I'll catch y'all later. Much love. Deuces.